In this tutorial, we're going to create the two inner rails for the Footstool project. This is pretty much where we would have left the last tutorial, but before we start on the inner rails, there's one little thing I just want to show you. If you notice down here in this component, there's a little anchor, and that means that this is the grounded component or the fixed component. Now, we don't want that because it's actually interfering with the working of this joint. So what we can do is if we just right click on that and we can unground from parent. Now just select the back rail bottom, right click, ground. And so that's now the fixed component and this now should be able to move. So let's see, yeah, so that animation now works. It just would have caused us some problems later on. Okay, now in terms of the internal rails, we're going to add to our very popular rail front sketch. So I'm going to turn that one back on. Now I know that this sketch is getting sort of fairly busy and fairly messy, but I do still prefer to minimize the number of sketches. So we'll go and edit this sketch. Now you can see from before, there's a lot of detail over on this side here. So we're actually going to work on this side here. In fact, we're going to work in this area here. So I'm going to zoom right in to that area and I'll pan it so that it's in the middle of the screen. Press escape. Now I want a center point rectangle for this. So I don't have a keyboard shortcut. And I want to use the center of this rectangle here. So basically to find that center point, I know from our previous geometry that this line here goes right through the middle of that rectangle. So all I've got to do is find the midpoint up the top, come all the way down, and there's the center. So I just left click, go out, and the numbers that I need 40, tab, 18, enter. Okay, now you can see that it's already defined these lines here, but it hasn't defined these ones. So D for dimension, and all we need, not that this is a very important dimension, but it just means that everything is fully defined. That's 86. We'll just tidy that up a little. So that's all of the geometry that we need, so we can now finish that sketch. From here, we're going to do a series of extrudes to create the tenon and the rest of the rail. So what we'll do is we'll need to zoom in fairly close here, but also we'll turn this front rail off as well. So we'll just turn that off and we'll zoom in. Now we've just got to remember that this sketch here, or the surface that this sketch is on, is also the front surface of the front rail. So the tenon is going to be 20 millimeters long. And what that means is it's actually going to stick out the front of the front rail by 2 millimeters and then go back through the front rail by the thickness of the front rail, which is 18 millimeters. So it's going to mean that our extrudes are slightly different. Just bear with me. There's our extrude. We're going to start from the profile plane, which is this sketch plane, but instead of going in one direction, we're actually going to go in two directions. We'll select our geometry, and you can see we want to go out this way by 2 millimeters. And then if we select this side, we want to go back this way by 18 millimeters. And we want a new body. So we can go OK. All right, so we've got that. We want to turn our sketch back on. The other thing that we actually want to do, in fact, we'll go back to there and we'll go back to our home view. Sorry, it always does that when I've got that sketch on. I'll just bring it in a bit closer. The next thing that we need to do, we just need to use our inspect tool or our tape measure one more time, and we just need to find the distance between these two inside surfaces here. So if we go I for inspect and just click on the inside curve there, the inside curve there, and we get 222. So we just need to remember that number. Just press escape again. We'll turn our rail front sketch on, but turn our rail off. Then we're going to do another extrude, and we're going to extrude. I'll just actually zoom in again just so we can see this really well. I'm just going to turn that body off just for now, because what we want to select is all of this, but we want to offset it, and the offset is going in this direction, so that we minus, we'll just type it up here, minus 18, and the distance is going to be minus 222. And let's just turn that body back on so it can see it. And then we can see here we've got join. And we can go OK. So it's now added that to the body. I'm just going to turn the sketch off and go back to our zoom fit setting. And you can see there's the one of the internal rails. Let's just turn the front rail back on, and you can see it's perfectly located, perfect length, everything's right, sticks out 2 millimeters at the front, which is what we want in the real world. Now, the other thing in the real world, if you remember that number there, 222, when we actually produce this component in the real world, we're going to keep it too long. So it might be 225 or 230 long with an extra 20 millimeter tenon on the front. And we'll only cut it to the final length when we actually do a final dry fit, and just double check that dimension there, because that dimension has to be perfect. And so if there's been any modification as you're constructing it in the workshop, you don't want that to be either too short or too long. It's got to be just right. Now, again, we only need to do that once because we're going to use our mirror function to create our second one. So we can go create mirror. Let's select that. So I've got our object select, our mirror plane. We'll go down here and we'll select our mirror plane, which is this left-hand plane. There it is appearing in the right location. We want it to be a new body and go OK. And there it is. We've now completed our internal rails. In the next tutorial, we're going to create the seat.